I didn't know the bar was set so low for YouTubers making movies. Anyways, Me Canyon and Penguin Zero both made videos about Talk to Me, saying it's awesome and amazing and that they love it. Well, they can love it, but they're wrong about it being awesome. Let's start with Meat Canyon because his discussion review has glaring issues.
Did two YouTubers just break the divide between social media influencers and Hollywood legends? I think so.
I suppose you're allowed to think this, and also be wrong, but the case you make for this movie in this video is god-awful. And in my review of Talk to Me, I think I made a good case for it being bad or even horrible. Also, what about other movies done by social influencers? Did those not break the divide because they weren't as good as Talk to Me? Because then the bar is super low. Talk to Me is like a 2 or 3 out of 10 if you're being nice.
They just came out with an amazing movie, and if you know me, I mean, I eat up A24 horror films. I eat up horror films in general. Do I complain a lot? Am I a bitch? Yes, absolutely. Whenever I watch something, I give it a fair reading.
Oh my god. I can't believe that after watching this video. That is almost cartoonish that you say that in this video. You already revealed your bias, saying you eat up A24 movies, and horror in general. You could give the movie a fair rating if you talked about any of the problems with it, but, you don't.
Sometimes stuff sucks.
Like Talk to Me? I mean, unless you didn't. Do you think he got the memo? Yeah. Yeah, the one about where you think about what you're watching? No? Are you sure? Oh, fuck.
It's just the case. But Talk to Me has done something so incredible. This is their freshman film. This is their first professional film.
This is their first one? Oh, fuck. I hope it gets better for our sakes. If they keep making horror movies like this, the genre might keel over from lack of brain cells.
If you know Rocka Rocka guys, you know that they've been doing stuff on YouTube forever. I mean, they're legends within their own right. They're amazing. But to make the transition from YouTube to Hollywood is no small feat, especially for people to treat you seriously, to make sure that what you're making isn't internet grade, it's Hollywood grade, that people aren't questioning anything.
I had never heard of these guys before this movie, and I guess transitioning to Hollywood at all would be a large feat for anyone. I guess we're singling out YouTubers in particular because they were YouTubers, but the idea that people questioning your stuff and treating you seriously is a YouTube transition only problem feels like bullshit. It would be more concerning if nobody had any questions about what they were doing and didn't care about who they were. I mean, what you do before transitioning to another career is important. And looking at their channel, people should have all the questions. A lot of their channel's content seems to be stuff that you wouldn't expect from people who want to make a horror film. If anything, most of their stuff is action related, so how did they end up with a horror script? And lastly, I guess, before we jump later into the video, internet and Hollywood grade? Did I just miss that announcement? The one that said I can fuck around with my videos and shorts because it's the internet and shit? No? No, I missed that announcement, it seems. If you care about what you're doing, it will always be top grade. Shouldn't matter if it's YouTube, Twitch, Kick, or Hollywood. You should always be trying your best.
This movie, I mean, it's a contender for best film of the year, in my opinion, for my sakes. And it's probably one of the best horror films I've seen in the last decade.
Oh, fuck. If this is one of the best things in the last decade, the horror genre might already be dead. Hopefully they get some Steam sale going for all those horror games to try and save the genre. Wait. That's a horror game? Let the genre die, actually. Fuck that. How did we fall so far after Soma? What the fuck?
Whenever I saw Talk to Me, it was the same kind of visceral feeling I had when I first saw Hereditary, where you were like, oh shit, this is special, this is something different. It's so tightly done, the story is so cohesive and good, and it's so honest in its approach that it makes it impossible not to like.
Oh, well, I guess I'm never watching Hereditary then. Oh my goodness.
And goddamn it, I had to make this video because you have to go see it. You need to go see it. You need to go support this film. You need to make sure that these guys get the recognition they deserve.
The movie is in fact not good. I painstakingly talked about the problems I found with it in another video. They deserve no recognition for this garbage.
The movie itself is about a group of teenagers. One of the girls is struggling because her mother's gone, she's passed away. But in this universe, teenagers use this occult-like symbol of this hand to talk with ghosts, with demons, paranormal type stuff. And it's used as like a party trick. So instead of like people doing Snapchats being like, oh my God, I'm drinking so much, I just got fucked in the bathroom. It's more like people like...
Social media is something I don't talk about in my review because it never comes up. Never! The only thing they use it for is having Mia find out about the hand, which didn't need to happen because Jade knows Haley. She could learn about it that way. You could say they use it to embarrass Daniel, but that doesn't go anywhere. They record his embarrassing session, post it, and that's it. Like so much in this movie, they forget about it as soon as it's briefly mentioned.
And what's crazy about that is that this movie is written by people who are from social media, so they utilize social media in such a good way. It's not like some 58-year-old who's just like, all right, horror film with like TikTok, like a TikTok horror film, like girl, like a guy. We could put a ghost in the phone. Maybe, okay, I'm gonna write that down. That's a good idea. Ghost and phone. It feels like one of the first horror films I've seen where the use of social media is integral to the story in a compelling and realistic way. By that I mean it's not gimmicky. It's not like it's not a TikTok horror film. It utilizes it in a correct way where it's believable, it's realistic.
What the fuck is happening? Did he watch the right movie? Did I watch the right movie? Was this some dumbass social experiment gone wrong? The bit he did about social media is basically how they used it, and he's glazing it like it was some masterful usage of it. How in the fuck just... how?
It doesn't feel like that one scene in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre where Leatherface kills a guy and they all put out their phone and they say, "You're so canceled." And then you take a giant katana and you drive it into your stomach.
But at least that's a gag joke. They didn't even do that with Talk to Me. They just wasted it, using it only to get Mia interested in the hand, which could have happened in a different way. It never comes up again. Does he live in Australia? The fictional country made up by this movie? Meet Kanye. Are you sure? Because there's no fucking way he watched this movie and thought that legitimately.
I got to sit down with Danny and Michael and kind of talk about some of the interesting things I thought from the film.
Oh. Is that why you're glazing the movie so hard? Because you know the directors and had interviews with them. That's on your Patreon. And because they started out as YouTubers? Well, hopefully this is just a one-off and nobody else glazes the movie for similar reasons.
First off, the entire driving force of the film is just this symbolic hand. And it's so fucking smart that this hand is representative of like a party drug, whiskey, or fucking weed, anything. It's a vice. It's something that's supposed to take you somewhere else in the way that you would, get drunk at a party to escape your problems, to have all these different vices that you use to escape reality. And this time, the party trick is this hand.
Oh yeah, that would be a really smart metaphor if, let me check here. Oh. It's never used in this movie. There's basically no other drugs with the exception of a few characters smoking. Maybe something like that would play out better if the characters progressively tried harder drugs until the hand was something they used to sate their thresholds to get high, but that never happens. We don't even really understand what happens when someone touches the hand and lets in the spirit things. Mia describes it as being a passenger in your own body, but what drug is she referring to exactly with that? I haven't heard anyone describe any trip with anything like that. And in my very limited experience, I've never done something with that kind of effect. The worst I've gotten is blackout episodes. I also don't like this idea of escaping reality. Personally, a good video game could do that for me. There's no point picking up some drug for that. Even when I did experiment, in that regard, I wasn't escaping. Just looking for a break, a moment of peace. People can use them to escape reality, but not exclusively, so if that's the point of the hand, it's not even remotely involved in the plot. At all. And to be so black and white about a topic while knowing it's more complex than that feels purposely dishonest.
Our generation today is so obsessed with all things morbid and the paranormal, and everyone's excited by the idea of talking to a ghost, whereas people used to be terrified of it.
Honestly, I don't care for their input. Meat Canyon is basically repackaging what they're saying to him in his own video, and their voices are horrid to listen to. For your sake, but mostly mine, I'll be skipping the interview segments. They can go in the irrelevant to the point category.
Mia, who's played by Sophie Wilde. First off, let me just say, star in the making. Phenomenal acting across everybody on the board, but Sophie really just she is the conductor of this train. Everybody's performances are highlighted and pushed forward because of her general performance.
If Mia is meant to be the conductor of the train, then it's crashing. It's off the rails, about to run straight into a building and kill thousands. She is extremely unlikable. She often forces people to interact with her, sometimes through guilt tripping, like when she saw the dying kangaroo and mentioned it to Jade to get her to talk to her. Interacting with Cole was particularly bad, because she doesn't expand on why she and him have felt similar pain. She just says she knows the pain he's dealing with, and he tells her everything he knows about the hand. She gets to go over the 90-second time limit on the hand, but have pretty tame repercussions compared to Riley until the finale when she figures everything out. She also gets to be forgiven for basically causing Riley all this pain and suffering with no consequences. And the spirits hate her so much that when she deletes her own save file, they don't even bother taking her to the hell zone that Riley was in. This is by far not an indictment to the actress, because Mia is written like a shoo-in. This movie should have been about Jade and the family, to give all the events more impact. Instead, we get a degree of separation to what's going on, because Mia has to be given time to develop her own drama and issues that, frankly, are hard to care about. It's something I went over a bit more in my Talk to Me review, but all Mia really does is hinder the story.
Mia is dealing with the loss of her mom, and it's kind of her trying to fit in, but it all goes a little too far once this hand gets involved.
That's technically true, I guess. It would be more true to say that Mia's family is still reeling from the loss of her mom 2 years ago, and she becomes obsessed with this hand trick. To say she wants to fit in is a stretch. We're shown that she's super friendly with Jade and her family, and Daniel, her ex-boyfriend. There's not really a showing in this movie of her being lonely. In fact, there's a scene with Mia and Riley where she says the opposite. So, think about anything, maybe? Crazy idea, I know. It's a lot harder than just speaking and your audience eating it up, but it is the right thing to do.
The beautiful thing about this movie is that it's a different thing to set up something like a characters that you're like, oh, I know, I've met these people. I know, I've been with these people. And then whenever some crazy shit does happen, it feels like an atomic bomb going off in your face. That's an Oppenheimer reference. I'm hip, I'm cool.
That would be the case for any well-written characters, or characters you can sympathize with. I don't feel any of that for this cast, because they're written very surface level. Maybe the whole movie industry is fucked if this is what counts as good characters. Fuck, I should take out a loan and blow this shit wide open. I can write better than this movie at least. And these guys got $4.5 million to fuck around? Is there an audit on this shit somewhere? It did not feel like $4.5 million went into this. It felt like a fancy high-end student film.
And if you've seen anything with Rocka Rocka before, I mean, they're violent guys. They like filming fights, violence. That's their foray. They love it. I mean, we've all seen the McDonald's video.
I haven't seen anything they made since Talk to Me. That is how scarring and horrible this movie was. It has tainted my view of them forever. Well, their voices are also fucking annoying, and one of them has red hair in the Meat Canyon interview, so that didn't really help either. But it was mostly the movie sucking. There's also no action in the movie anyways, so I don't see how filming violent fights helped at all, unless it was just that. They filmed stuff, and there's stuff in Talk to Me.
The whole movie isn't just in-your-face visceral violence. The moments that it does happen, it hits so much harder and there's so much weight behind them. And also, we linger with this character. Riley, we see him and he's tortured. I mean, he looks so beat up. You feel so sorry for the mom.
The moments that are violent? You mean once? With Riley? What are we doing, man? Why are we framing it like this? And it would be a pretty big blunder if the movie also forgot that Riley almost dies. Except it kinda does, because he has a full recovery by the end of the movie. No trauma, no lasting damage. Just fucking leaves the hospital after however long Ghost Mia was walking and twiddling her broken-ass ghost thumbs. And it's so hard to feel bad for anyone because they're all written so bad. Sue, this mom character he's saying you feel for, forgives Mia for almost killing Riley. The script forgot that Mia did that, by the way. Gave Riley the approval to do the hand thing and everyone went along with it. And I have a sneaking suspicion it's because they wrote Jade to not say anything about it ever. Even if Jade doesn't want to tell her mom about the ghost hand, she could still say something about it being Mia's fault. Sue gets a scene forgiving Mia, but one where she's still upset at Jade for the Riley stuff with no conclusion to that. Just let that sink in.
Another notable thing about this movie, too, is that it's all Australian actors.
It was filmed in Australia. You have got to be fucking kidding me! Where did he think they filmed it? The Midwest? Fucking New York? Boston?
Hearing the story of how Danny and Michael, they got offered a large studio, I don't know if they want me to name who, was going to buy this film and make it, but they were going to have to take creative liberty, take almost all the creative liberties out of it and change the vision of the film.
I wish we were in that universe, because maybe it would have been a generic Hollywood movie jump scare slop thing, but that would be leagues better than this garbage.
So Danny and Michael made the film themselves, casted it all in Australia, which is where they're from, and it's a predominantly Australian film, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for overseas films to do well in the States, especially because people in the States are so fucking dense, they hear an accent, they're like, okay, why do they sound like that? What is that? Why are they so annoying? Like, their voices are grating in my head. So for them to take that risk and to have it pay off is just so fucking satisfying.
Well, isn't that a bit of a self-report? If you mean to say it's true for general audiences, why would a general audience want to watch something in a different language? If your foreign overseas-ass film is all in English, then is it really foreign to the US? This shit was in theaters. I've never seen a Japanese horror film at my local Cinemark. The only frustrating thing with them being Australian is their slang, which would be a problem for any type of movie. Californian slang is not the same as Chicago, which is not the same as Mexican, which is not the same as European, etc., etc.
It really does feel like it could happen anywhere in the world. By having it be an Australian film, which, they're still speaking English, but still it's like a cultural divide that still feels like, oh shit, this could happen to me tomorrow. If that thing showed up in my life, this could happen. Which I think a lot of foreign films, you can kind of distance yourself to where you're like, you don't have that intimacy. But with social media and how the teenage actors and how teenagers act like teenagers.
The only correct thing you said was that the teenagers acted well. Hand lore? Non-existent. They can't even agree on its origins once it comes up. Social media? Only used once to get Mia interested in the hand. Cultural divide? Just their slang. Half the time something is happening, someone is being a dickhead or locked in spectator mode, unable to do something.
The shit's gonna blow people's minds, and it's gonna be an amazing start to such an unbelievable career.
I can't, dude. There's no way. How the fuck can he think that it'll blow people's minds? Maybe all the minds it's blowing are from people deleting their own save files? Because if something like this is the best movie of the year, then I think we've failed as a society.
I feel people are gonna watch this video in the future, even a year or two from now, and be like, well, duh, dude. It's Talk to Me, of course. The same way that people talk about, Get Out or Hereditary or something like that.
I absolutely refuse to watch those movies. If you think they're just as good as Talk to Me, they must be utter failures that can't deliver on their ideas if you think they're remotely of the level of Talk to Me.
Let me tell you, I am hyping this thing up. I put my fucking life on this film. It's so good. I haven't been so sure about a film in such a long time, especially one that I've recommended on this channel, to just be I can't think of a person who wouldn't like this film.
Well, hi. I am at least one of those people. It's called thinking. Cutting edge. It's kind of a cutting edge idea, little on the fringe. I don't expect it to be mainstream anytime soon.
Talk to Me, I feel like if you're an avid horror fan and you want to be scared, you're going to like this. It's just such a beautiful harmony. It's like almost like 7 angels just singing in synchronicity, creating the perfect note. It's just amazing.
What a fucking fluff piece of a video. You barely talked about what happens in the movie at all. Most of what you've done is just recommend it. Oh, and be extremely biased, because you know the directors, and they're also YouTubers.
And I wanted to take time today and use this platform to tell you, go see this fucking movie. It's amazing. You will not be disappointed. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. And it's for people who are like, oh god, what a fluff piece. Fuck yourself. Try to go see the movie, say that you didn't get scared or you didn't have a good time. The ball's in your court.
I have extensively shown how much I hate this movie, and how it can barely call itself a horror movie. The only thing more stunning than the idea that you got to recommend a movie but hardly discuss what happens in it accurately is the amount of people joining you in the glazing of it in your comments. So fuck you for either being so obtuse that you can say vague shit about a movie to be technically correct, or fuck you for being a dishonest shill. The main issue with Meat Canyon's video is that he watched a different movie. There is no way he honestly saw Talk to Me and came away with all these positives and 0 negatives. And I guess it isn't just him, because the next Talk to Me review has the same issue.
When you think of YouTuber-made movies, you no doubt think of extremely high-quality productions that stand the test of time, like Logan Paul's Airplane Mode, or the classics like Fine Bros F the Prom, and I absolutely need to mention the masterpiece Fred trilogy. Fred 1, 2, and 3 is the only cinematic marvel that can even potentially rival the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay, I guess this is going to be a recurring problem. I skipped it with Meat Canyon because the answer seemed obvious to me, but fuck it, cause Penguin Zero brings it up too. Just because you're on top of shit mountain doesn't mean you aren't shit. Talk to Me could be the best YouTuber movie ever made, but that doesn't excuse it from all the problems it has.
That's always a debate more heated than bone-in versus boneless wings. Which is better, the Fred trilogy or Lord of the Rings?
Fucking... Ugh.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and drop the sarcasm for a moment. Everyone knows YouTuber movies are absolutely fucking horrendous, downright criminal. Basically a violation of the Geneva Convention being subject to a YouTuber movie.
I guess this is unrelated, but you could fucking try to sound different when you want to be sarcastic. I know my voice isn't the best in the world, but at least when I'm working in bits and sarcasm and all that, you'll know. All 4 of you. Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, but I expect someone who's been doing this eons in comparison to me to at least be able to try. And we've already covered comparison to other YouTuber movies. Being better than everything else before you doesn't automatically make you good.
They made a really good movie.
It was not good. I'm getting sick of people asserting this without giving a reason. You don't need to go over it with a fine-toothed comb like I wish everyone would, but at least talk about something that happened in the movie.
Would you even believe me? You're probably thinking that I'm a lunatic that's taking crazy pills right now, even suggesting that a YouTube group could make a good film.
I think you're someone who's complacent with where they are, like Meat Canyon, and doesn't need to critically think about the movie. Either because you don't care to, or because you're biased heavily because it's a YouTuber movie.
And one thing that they've been known for is extremely over-the-top violence and, like, really good action sequences.
And yet they choose to make a horror movie with 0 action scenes. Well, how genius of them to avoid the one thing everyone says they're good at.
And I'm happy to say all of that talent that they've demonstrated over the many years they've been on YouTube translated to the big screen beautifully. It was really cool to see what they were able to do with a bigger budget.
Did I get a bootleg of the movie? What the fuck is happening? Everyone realizes what they're saying, right? I'm not just having a psychotic break here. The guys on YouTube, known for really good action, did not make an action movie. What was the point of all that experience if they weren't gonna use it? There's not a single action scene in the movie. Fuck off.
Most of you know I love horror movies. Not because I think it's a strong genre with a lot of really good movies in it, in fact, quite the opposite. I love horror movies because there's almost never a single good thing about them.
Well, glad to know you don't particularly care about the genre being bad. Or the genre getting good movies. The fuck, man? If you like a genre because it's shit, aren't you admitting that this movie you think is so good is shit? Or is this one of the few exceptions?
There is a never-ending supply of trash being added to the horror dumpster, and all of it makes me giggle and spit up like a little baby and clap my hands because it's so fun bad. I can count every good horror movie I've ever seen on one hand. My left hand, I can count every single high-quality horror film I've ever watched. Until now.
How ironic. You're spitting up and giggling over this movie which is also bad. In a genre you consider bad. And those movies you think are good? If they're on par with Talk to Me, they can all eat shit. And if they're better than that, I'll never know because you say they're just as good as Talk to Me.
Now, the narrative revolves around this creepy ceramic hand, and a group of kids who keep throwing parties using this hand as like a wacky event type deal. So, what you do is you light a candle, opening the door as they call it, and then someone grabs the hand, and while they're grabbing the hand, they say, "Talk to me." And then once they do that, they can communicate with people from the other side, trapped in a limbo. Basically, they can communicate with dead people. And they go a step forward where they invite the dead people into their body to communicate with everybody else and give everyone a bit of a spook and a scare. But they only go for about 90 seconds and then they just take their hand, someone else in the party takes their hand and separates it from the ceramic one, and that breaks the connection. They blow out the candle and the visitor is kicked out of the house.
I guess this is a better summary than Meat Canyon, but it's still uncritical of the movie. The hand being creepy is really up to you. To me, it was a styrofoam hand with Sharpie writing all over it. It wasn't scary at all. And we also don't know what the deal is with the spirit things, but Penguin assumes they're in a limbo. We actually don't know anything about them other than they get to do whatever the movie needs them to do. And he doesn't have an opinion on the hand rules, I guess? They really have no origin, so we have to assume whoever had the hand first tested it by killing people with it until he found the threshold to keep people alive.
This concept expands, where they keep throwing these parties because they really like communicating with the dead. It becomes intoxicating to them. They really love having their fucking bodies piloted like a Gundam. And that leads to a lot of problems where now the spirit doesn't want to leave, and the spirit's pretty aggressive because one of the core things they establish that if you go longer than 90 seconds, the spirit gets a little rowdy and doesn't really want to get kicked out anymore. And what they really want to do is kill the host, because if they can kill the host, they get to keep them. So it then becomes a battle of them versus the spirit realm.
This core thing of wanting to kill people so they get to keep them, they break with the finale. None of the spirit things come to take Mia to the Hell Zone. They leave her in the hospital for however long until she realizes she's dead. And then the versus the spirit realm take. Are you fucking kidding me? They spend the movie fighting one spirit, and arguably they shouldn't even do that, because one of the core rules you skip over is if they wait, it will go away eventually. Mia doesn't even fight the spirit mom thing that's messing with her, so that's it. The war against the spirit realm is with one spirit. One. And it's not even the Lord of Spirits or some ancient all-powerful spirit. It's just a random dickhead spirit.
They're not trying to reinvent the horror movie wheel. They're just doing it better than most horror movies that have come before them.
They may have done better than movies before them. Once again, that doesn't mean this movie isn't also garbage. Because it is.
Hereditary is an example of what I think is probably the best modern horror movie ever made.
Okay, well, if everyone thinks Hereditary is as good as Talk to Me, then fuck Hereditary.
They take what most horror movies fail to do and succeed.
I don't even What do you mean they succeed at doing what other horror movies tried to do? The scariest thing in this movie is what happens to Riley, but then that doesn't matter because he fully recovers from it. Mia going over her time limit in her first experience and being weird was cringe, if anything, not scary. And nobody takes it seriously in the first place. The hell zone that Mia looks into is grotesque, but just for a moment. We never linger in that area ever again. Unless horror movies are meant to do something else other than scare people, Talk to Me fails at doing this if you think about anything happening for more than a few seconds.
It also really helps that the acting in here is very good. Horror is known for really campy, shitty, phoned-in acting, basically where good acting goes to die, but not this movie. I was really surprised with how well everyone played their roles. All of the characters were very well done, especially the lead. The main character here I thought did an extraordinary job.
All of the characters are insufferable. No matter how well they're acted, it won't change the script. Even then, their acting is fine at best. The main character is annoying, and as mentioned before, doesn't do anything but hinder the movie. The focus should be around Jade and her family, not Mia. We then have to waste time setting up Mia and her family as opposed to spending more time with Jade and her family to make what happens to Riley that much more important and focal to the story.
She was also great at doing something that I feel most horror movie actors and actresses are bad at, which is being creepy.
At no point was Mia creepy in the movie. Ever. Even when she goes over her time limit and does the trailer scene, it's cringe. The voice that she does for that scene, or is given for it, is not scary. It ruins the entire vibe they want for that scene. Otherwise, there's no scene where you can point to her trying to be creepy.
What I think is the most impressive thing about this film, and what I really didn't expect, especially given how violent and gory Raka Raka's work is on YouTube, is that they didn't just go for like gross out gore to shock you and scare you. There is gore here, of course, don't misunderstand me, but it's actually used in a really great context where it doesn't feel like it's just yucky for the sake of being yucky, like, oh, look at all those blood and guts. It always makes sense in this film to the point where like it's actually used effectively as opposed to just like a cop-out like, gore, be frightened.
Except that's what gore is used for. Even the story-relevant gore with possessed Riley trying to delete his save file. Well, actually, that's the only time they use it. Meat Canyon had a similar idea too about tasteful violence. What is happening right now? How is everyone getting away with saying stuff like this? This is a lie. It happens initially with Riley when he's possessed for too long. The scene in the hospital when he bangs his head against the wall until it bleeds? No gore. Violence? Maybe against himself and biting Jade, but hardly enough to be noteworthy.
I think if you're going to use jump scares as your primary horror tool, you're pretty trash at making a scary movie.
That's it, huh? Well, I think you're trash at making a horror movie if you film your first draft of the script and hope nobody thinks about what's happening with your movie and ideas at all. But I guess that's working out pretty well. I haven't found anyone shitting on Talk to Me the way it deserves.
Talk to Me does not rely on jump scares. It does what all horror movies should focus on: anxiety, unnerving you, building tension, being creepy, but not overtly where it's trying hard to show you creepy things like blood and gore and whatever. Like, it's very good about subtly building up all of this tension, all of this anxiety, and letting things really linger.
Nothing lingers in this movie. There are many things in the movie that get forgotten or don't get talked about just to move on with the poorly written plot. And no movie should follow Talk to Me in the creepy suspense jump scare stuff. In fact, it would have been better for everyone if Talk to Me disappeared and was just a bad dream the world collectively had.
Now, I will say they do, however, have a couple of, ghostly spirits in here that are very clearly supposed to be, like, creepy looking, and I think those don't look amazing. I don't think they look bad, don't get me wrong.
We're basically at the end of the review here, and this is all the criticism he has. The spirits aren't great. This is worse than scratching the surface. This is like looking at the surface and walking away. The spirits are fundamental to the movie, but they have no rules and get to do whatever the plot needs them to do. It's bullshit. And lazy.
I think, for the most part, everything they do here, everything they set out to do, rather, they nailed. They fucking hit a home run here.
Oh, so they set off to create a steaming pile of shit and trick people online into loving it through their bias for YouTubers? Because if the goal was to create a good movie or horror movie, they completely failed at that. I hate this, mostly because Talk to Me was so obviously bad. The problems with Talk to Me are glaring, but every review I've looked at online just loves the movie for basically no reason. The reviewers are like Meat Canyon, who love a movie that didn't happen, or like Penguin Zero, and just actually think the genre is shit but love this exception. It's really hard to trust anyone's reviews on the internet, I guess, but I don't plan on watching every single movie in the world. What I do eventually plan on doing is talking about how bad The Blacklist is, and a personal favorite show, Leverage, being trash. You don't need to actively chase down your biases and deconstruct them like I plan to do with Leverage, but you should at least recognize them and their influence on things. Do your best to ignore them, and be fair.